You ever hear people say the reason real estate prices are so expensive in Hawaii is because mainlanders are coming here and buying up all the property? Well, there's a new study that just came out that answers that question, whether it's true or whether it's false. And we're going to take a look at it coming up next. Hey, what's going on, friends? Like I said in the intro, we often get told, or you hear people say in Hawaii, well, real estate prices are super expensive because we got all these mainlanders coming in and buying up all the homes, all the condos, all the land. And it was always hard to kind of know whether or not that was true or not. And this new study that just came out by the Grassroot Institute of Hawaii has come out with a very interesting study with some actual data that gives us some information and some insight into whether or not that was true. And I'll have the link in the descriptions below so you can read the whole entire study for yourself and dig deeper into the information. But what I did is I pulled a few of the key slides out of it, key pieces of information, and we're going to talk about it and look at it and start to answer that question as to whether or not mainland buyers, outside foreign buyers, are the ones that are driving up real estate prices. And so the first graph we're going to look at here is the number of homes that are sold to locals versus the number of homes that are sold to mainland buyers and then foreign buyers. And so the blue line up here are local buyers, and this is for the entire state of Hawaii. And we'll look at Hawaii County next. But this is the entire state of Hawaii. These are mainland buyers, and those are qualified by someone who purchases property that has a mainland address. So they looked at all the records going all the way back to 2008 and looked at how many people that had a mainland address closed on property here in Hawaii. And then the bottom line here are foreign buyers. And we can see that fell off, obviously, in 2020 and 2021. It went down because we didn't have foreign buyers coming here. But the short story is, according to this information, right, looking at this information, there has been no increase. And actually, there has been a decline. If you look going back to 2008, there's been a decline in the number of properties that were bought by mainland and foreign buyers. And so you cannot attribute the increase in prices to mainland or outside buyers because the number or the percentage of properties bought by outside buyers has actually declined. And this study looked at all of the states, all 50 states in the United States, and looked at if there was any correlation between the number of out-of-state buyers and the median price in those states. And the conclusion was that there is no correlation. The data's all over the place, right? There are states that are extremely high median price, like Hawaii and New York, where there's a high number of out-of-state buyers. But conversely, there's a lot of states that are low median price states that also have a similar percentage of out-of-state buyers, because that would make sense, right? If you have a lower cost of living, you're going to have more out-of-state people moving. There's obviously a lot of people moving out of states like California and New York, high-cost states, and going to other states like Texas, Nevada, Idaho. There's a lot of states that are growing rapidly because of people out migrating from more expensive states. So the conclusion here is that there is no increase in the percentage of mainland buyers. They are not buying at a higher rate than they have in the last 12 years, but prices continue to rise, right? So if we look at Hawaii County, it's a similar trend. The percentages are a little bit different. There's a higher percentage of mainland buyers for the Big Island than there are on the statewide average, but the same trend is true. The trend line is actually going down when you look at the number of out-of-state buyers versus local buyers. So about 60% of all homes are bought by locals and about 40% are bought by mainland buyers. But that percentage of mainland buyers has not increased over the last decade plus. And so you cannot attribute the increase in prices to an increase in the number of outside buyers. And so the question becomes, why do prices rise, right? And luckily this study also addresses that in like the second half and has a lot of really good data and information about why does the cost of living and the cost of housing continue to rise in Hawaii. And this is something that I think most of us that live here definitely know and definitely feel. And this scatter plot here shows you the correlation between the median price on this side and then the land use restrictiveness. So they did a study on how restrictive are land use policies in each state, and is there a correlation with the median price? And the answer to that question is yes. So the more restrictive your land use policies are, the higher your cost of living and the higher your cost of housing is. And if you see all the way the heck over here, this is Hawaii, right? We have by far the highest cost of living or the highest cost of housing and the most restrictive land use policy. And if you go down the trend line here, definitely all of these states that have more restrictive land use policies have higher median prices for homes. And so what that means is, and we pretty much know this here in Hawaii, is that it is extremely hard to build homes. It's extremely hard to rezone land. It's extremely hard to subdivide land. And that is a system that has been created by our government, right? Our government makes it very difficult to do any type of new building, which restricts supply and continues to drive prices up because the demand is not going away. People are still going to want to buy homes, whether they're here local or they're from the mainland. That demand for homes is always going to be a constant, but we do not increase the supply of land. And I've talked about this in a previous video. On the Big Island, less than 4% of all the land is zoned for any type of development. And so there's really no chance of us overdeveloping our community. But if we just increased by 1%, it would be an enormous increase, or a 20% increase in the amount of buildable land that we would have. And you really would solve your affordable housing crisis because you would have more supply available. But if we continue to do what we've always done and continue these really restrictive policies and make it very hard to build new homes, the prices will continue to go up. So it's very lazy and very inappropriate to just blame outsiders and say, hey, it's mainland buyers that are causing the cost of living to go up, because it's definitely not reflected in the data. And you can definitely point to where the problem is. And, for the most part, we don't do anything to fix that, especially through our elections. And we just had a primary election, are going to have a general election soon. And the thing that you need to ask yourself as a local person, if you're concerned about this, or even if you came here and you're concerned about it, is who am I voting for? Because the people you're voting for are the ones that put these land use policies into place and continue to perpetuate this system of making it extremely hard to rezone and develop any type of property. And as long as we do that, and as long as we keep electing the same people, we're going to continue to be way up here on the upper right, where we're highest in the nation median home price, plus highest in the nation on restrictions to use our land. So something to think about. Again, I'll have all the links to the entire study if you want to look at it. It's a really good, pretty short read, but very comprehensive, lots of good information. But always important to look at the data and make sure that your beliefs and what you think is true is actually backed up by some facts. And so if you have any questions or you don't agree, put them in the comments below. I'd love to have a discussion with you. If you want to book a meeting, talk about your plans, whether it's buying or selling, you can always do that with the link below. And always appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys next week. Aloha.